colega, ich bin Geraldine.
And ich bin Danna. And this is a presentation for our project Literature Review. Today we are going to talk about the German language.
Okay, so this is our content. First of all, we start to talk about the history, then about the phonological range, and we see some vowels, consonants, and diphthongs. Also, we talk about the phonological rules, the prosodial intonation, and we show you some accents comparisons, and finally we'll see how foreigners perceive German. Now we're going to start with the history of German as a language. German originated from West Germanic tribal languages and gradually developed through regional dialects. Martin Luther's Bible translation in the 16th century played a key role in standardizing the language. It became the official language after Germany's unification in 1871 during Hitler's regime. German was heavily used as a symbol of national identity and control through propaganda and education. Today, it remains the official language of German. Now we're going to talk about the phonological range of the Standard German. It's broad and distinctive, including a rich system of both vowels and consonants. It features 15 phonemic monotones that vary in height, flatness, rounding, and length. The consonants inventory comprises approximately 25 phonemes, contributing to the language phonetic richness.
It includes a rich inventory of monotones that are pure vowels, which contrast by length, height, flatness, and rounding. Also, the vowel's length is phonemic and not just allophonic. Tenseness also plays a role. Long vowels tend to be tense, and short vowels lax. The schwa occurs only in stressed syllables, typically at the end of the words. German vowels are clearly articulated, especially in careful or formal speech.
We had 5 familiar vowels. E is in Ingwer, E is in Bet, U is in Unke, U is in Schuh, and I is in Dieb. Then we had 3 vowels that were in somewhat new places. A is in Mark, which was a bit more forward in the mouth compared with English as A is in Mark, Mark. We had E as in Esel, which had a tongue position kind of halfway between E and I, Esel. And we had O as in Boot, which was similar to O as in boat, just without moving on to that second vowel in the English diphthong, O, so boat. Then we had our 5 rounded vowels. There was Ü as in Bühne, a rounded version of I, Ü. There was Ö as in Öffnung, a rounded version of E, so you had Ö, Öffnung. You had O as in Onkel, which is a rounded version of O, Onkel. Ö as in Stück, which was a rounded version of Ö, Stück. And Ö as in Ölfarbe, which was a rounded version of Ö, Ölfarbe. And then we covered 2 unaccented vowels. German schwa, Ö as in Pfanne, which is somewhere between English's and Pfanne, and as in Lehrer, which is in nearly the same spot as English's Lehrer.
German includes 3 primary diphthongs that they are essential to the language's phonological system. A diphthong is a complex vowel sound that begins with one vowel and glides into another winning the same syllable. In German, these diphthongs are phonemic, meaning they can distinguish between words and are not just allophonic variations.
All 3 diphthongs occur in stressed syllables and form an essential part of the native phoneme inventory. They never appear at the end of the word in the written form, but phonetically they may be final. Unlike in some languages, diphthongs in German are not variable in pronunciation. They are quite stable and follow strict phonological rules. These diphthongs are not interchangeable with monophthongs and must be learned as distinctive phonemes.
I, which sounds much like English's I. One of the biggest differences between German and English diphthongs is that the Germans tend to go faster to the second vowel. In English you can say, oh, that's mine, mine, where a German one would just say mein. They go faster. The next of these is Au, as an Aufzug, or Bau. Now this one is really very similar to English, aside from the speed issue. So German has Bau, in English bow. And last there's Oi, as in Oita. Now this one sounds a lot like Oi, as in boy, and your tongue is doing nearly the exact same thing. The big difference is in your lips. When you say boy, your lips relax at the end. Whereas in German, they stay rounded and tense the whole way through. You have boy in English and Oita, Oita in German.
The consonant inventory of Standard German includes a wide range of sounds distributed across different places and manners of articulation. These consonants can be classified according to whether they're voiced or voiceless, and by how they were in the mouth they are produced. Stops. Completely closed at the vocal tract, nasals are flowed through the nose, fricatives, narrow constriction, causing turbulent airflow. Trill, quick repeat vibration of one articulator against another, caused by the flow of exhaled air. Approximates constriction not enough to cause friction, and lateral approximate airflows along the sides of the tongue.
They don't say something like ist ein arbeitsloser Athlet. They say ist ein arbeitsloser Athlet. It gives the whole language a neat kind of guttural feel. So the first one will be very familiar. It's what happens when you stick a t and a sh together. You get ch. It shows up in German words like Matsch and English words like child. The other two consonant clusters are simple but a little less familiar. First, if you stick a p and a f together, you get pf as in Pfeil and Pfand. And second, if you stick a t and a s together, you get ts as in Zahl or Zimmer. And we're mostly through. We have three last sounds and symbols to learn. The first is the German R, r as in Ratte. It's produced using the back of your tongue, which pulls back all the way behind where you pronounce G. Ga, 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 ra, ra, ra. If you're familiar with French IPA, you might notice that the symbol here is a right side up capital R, where it was an upside down R in French. This is mostly a matter of convention. The consonants, honestly, are basically the same. When all goes well when pronouncing this consonant, your uvula, that thing that hangs down to the back of your throat, will vibrate against your tongue. Ra, ra. As always, the more familiar your ear gets with this sound, the easier it will be to produce, but that won't necessarily make it easy. This consonant really tripped me up when I first learned it. I basically went around gargling for a whole summer, and then eventually it started working well. So here's our next consonant. It looks like a capital X, but it's like a few millimeters lower than it should be. And this is ch, as in Bach. It's made in the exact same spot as that German R. Your tongue raises up all the way in the back behind G, and as that space gets smaller and smaller between your tongue and your uvula, you get ah. For many, this one tends to be a bit easier than German's R. People seem to have an easier time kind of choking themselves with their tongue than gargling for some reason. So we have one last consonant. This is German's sh, as in Licht, and it uses the symbol of a C with a little tail on it, the C, C, D. Earlier, I introduced you to German's y and told you how some people like to really constrict that sound and say ya, ya. This last consonant is made in that exact same spot. You take the tongue position of a y, like in you or ya or yacht, where the middle of your tongue is near the roof of your mouth, and then you bring your tongue up even further, almost pushing against the roof of your mouth, and then you just sort of squeeze air through that space to make a kind of hissing sound. And those are all of the German consonants.
For the phonological rules, we have the first one, that is the final obstruent voicing. The rule is that the voiced obstruents become voiceless at the end of a syllable of a word. This is an assimilation, and its purpose is that this is a hallmark of a German pronunciation. The spelling stays the same, but the final sound is the voiced. We have the ich laut alternation. The rule is that the dorsal fricative surfaces as after front center vowels as after back vowels. This is an assimilation, and its purpose is to keep articulatory coherence between vowel and colon fricative. We also have the aspiration of voiceless stops. The rule is that the voiceless stops are aspirated when they occur at the beginning of a stressed syllable. This is also an assimilation, and its purpose is that this marks word of syllable, onset prominence, and discusses minimal pairs. We have the insertion of initial glottal stop. The rule is that a glottal stop is inserted before a stressed vowel that begins a word. This is an insertion, and its purpose is to clearly separate vowel initial words and prevent hiatus.
The schwa deletion. His rule is that when the stressed schwa is dropped in the final position or in a casual, rapid speech. His type is deletion, and his purpose is speeds up casual speech and lightens final syllables. The resibilification. The rule says the acoda consonant resyllables as the onset of the following syllable when the next segment is a vowel. His type is prosodic assimilation, and his purpose says that creates a smoother speech rhythm and prevents complex codas in a conic speech. The dorsal fricative. This is an assimilation, and his rule says that in a rapid speech, dorsal fricatives assimilate totally to the following velar stop. His type is regressive, total assimilation by place of articulation, and his purpose is its articulation speed by matching the place of successive consonants. The morphological syllabic voicing. The rule becomes voiced in certain morphological environments, such as before plural or derivatorial suffix. His type is morphological assimilation, and his purpose says that signals morphological boundaries and maintains fluent transitions between morphemes.
Prosody. German prosody is defined by a strong initial word stress, vowel intonation in statements, and a stress time rhythm that prioritizes regular spacing of stressed syllables. Compared to Spanish, German uses a more controlled pitch range and distinct pause patterns, contributing to the language characteristics structure sound. Word stress. In German, the main stress usually falls on the first syllable of a word. For example, for compound words, the stress is typically on the first part. For example, we have that foreign countries perceive the German as a very good sounding language. In general, they have a good perception of it. They say that it's friendly, it is kind of familiar, it is hard, but in general, it's very sophisticated and a beautiful language. And for the native speakers, they say it depends more on the speaker than on the language. So there are some accents that sound very rough, very aggressive, but in general they don't have a bad perception of its own language. They say it is powerful, it is strong, it is precise. So that was all for our video. We hope that you enjoyed and you learned from it.
Dankeschön.